which I was excited for. I didn't think it was very needed, but I'm like, okay, let's see where you go. If anything, there will be some good action scenes. But without further ado, can you read the plot synopsis? All right,
there? John Wick. You called it John Wick 2. John Wick Chapter 2.
Sorry, John Wick Chapter 2.
Legendary hitman John Wick is forced out of retirement again by a former associate plotting to seize control of a shadowy international assassins guild. Bound by a blood oath to help him, John travels to Rome, where he squares off against some of the world's deadliest killers.
Okay, well, I like that he goes to Italy, the motherland, Mamma Mia, pasta. I've never been. Too many Italians there.
Did you see the, I saw someone posted a picture of Alien, and then it was Italian.
Do you know how many people have sent me that over like the last 5 years? Yes, I've seen it.
Oh, I was saving it for you. I was like, this is really going to blow his mind today.
No, I've seen it a million times. So yeah, John Wick, the first one was fun because of the revenge aspect, and in this one, he owes someone a favor. Already not like super into. He has to get his car back at least. There's something like that in the beginning.
And not just his car, because once he gets the car back, opens up the glove compartment, picture of his wife in there, an old birthday card.
Yes.
So there was also an emotional aspect to it.
Yes, and he gives the car to John Leguizamo, who was in the first one. And then John Leguizamo leaves, and hopefully he never comes back, because I'm a little tired of John Leguizamo. He complains so much. Every article I see of John Leguizamo is him complaining about some stupid bullshit. And it's like, dude, shut up.
Yeah.
Shut up.
Shut up, Luigi. Quote, unquote.
You know what? He's always bitches like, not enough representation. Why do they do this? I'm like, you're not Italian and you played Luigi. Shut up. Also, you're banking on people not remembering The Pest. You really don't want them to go back and watch The Pest, John. You're going to get in a lot of trouble. Anyway.
He's walking around. He's like, this Tony guy's coming after me. I don't know what I'm going to do.
He's always like, that's offensive and this. I'm like, dude, I've seen The Pest. I've seen your Asian accent. You don't want people digging up your stuff, John. Like, stop it. Stop it. You're putting a target on your back.
So, yeah, the first movie has that raw emotion.
Yeah.
I mean, from the first 5 minutes, it's heartbreaking watching his wife pass away.
Yeah.
And then you really feel it when they kill his puppy. Like, the rest of the movie, you want to see him kill all of them.
Yeah, this one, and he doesn't want to do it. He says, like, so you find out that he got very rich doing his previous job, but like he owed a blood debt to this very famous, like the very like powerful man.
Yeah, the way that he was able to get out of the mob business.
Yeah.
He was asked to do one last big favor for Vigo from the last movie.
Yes.
We don't know the details of it, but he had to kill a bunch of people. The only way he could get it done was with Santonio's help. Is that his name? Santino? I forget.
D'Antonio, I think it was.
Yeah, he needed his help.
Yes.
And in the world of the Continental and the High Table and this whole thing, you can create a blood oath. Someone does you a favor, they put their bloody thumbprint on one side, and in the future, you have to do a favor for them.
Yes.
You can't kill them, and if you don't hold up your end of the bargain, the High Table will come and kill you.
Yes, this is the first we're hearing of the High Table, I think, which is... Well, I don't think we see members of it, but I don't think we've ever actually seen them all together at any point.
No, I don't think so.
They pretty much run this secret society of assassins. They're very much in control of everything, and they don't like their rules being broken.
Yeah.
So yeah, the guy, he wants John to come back, and he tells him, he's like, if you would have stayed retired, I wouldn't have bothered you, but you came back. And like, it's kind of hard to be like on John's side with this. Because it's like, and even Winston's just like, oh, what did you expect?
Yeah.
Like, did you not think this day would come? Like, it's like, John, did you have no prep for this? Or
well, it's even funnier because in chapter 3, John becomes this person because he goes up to a Halle Berry's character. He's like, you owe me an oath.
Yeah. He's being a real asshole about it now, and then he becomes the asshole.
But it becomes kind of a literal representation of what Winston warned him about in the first one.
Yeah.
Like, if you dip so much as a pinky in this pond, something might come up and grab you. And now
we're seeing
somebody does.
So yeah, the guy, he gets rejected by John, so he blows up his house. Doesn't kill the dog. They made sure to never kill a dog again.
I think they announced, like, we are not killing any more dogs.
By the way, I feel bad that I, like, bought these Blu-rays when they came out, because then last year they did a series of Blu-rays that each cover had a different dog on it. It was like a Target exclusive. So the first one had, like, whatever, it was the Beagle or whatever. And I'm like, oh man, I would have liked the dog covers for these movies. Shit. Yeah, so what this one does right, the action,
The action was
The
great.
action is pretty solid in this.
I will say, I remember feeling like the action's a bit repetitive. Like, you see him take guys, throw them, and then shoot them so many times.
Yeah.
But they do put the action into different locations,
Yes.
new environments, which is interesting. They introduce the new bulletproof jackets.
Yeah, those kind of become like a crutch going forward.
Well, it's just funny how they've now permanently altered the choreography of the movies, where
Yeah.
everyone needs to be doing this at
Yeah.
all times, holding up their suit jacket.
But it's also weird because then we see like people who are super armored later on, and their armor is nowhere near as good as these stupid suit jackets. Like, come on.
But I do love between scenes, you always see him like smacking it so all the bullets fall out.
Yeah. So his mission in this, hired by the guy to kill the guy's sister because she got promoted to high table and he wants that role. So, and I like that John's just like, it can't be done. He's like, well, you got to figure out a way to do it. So he's got to go kill her, and then he'll be in the clear. He ends up well, he doesn't really kill her.
Yeah, he finds her at the coronation where she's about to be like, coronated, I guess, to the high table.
Yeah.
And as soon as she sees him, she knows that he's there to kill her.
Yeah.
So she takes her own life instead. She asks him if he fears damnation, and he says yes.
Yes.
It's unusually contemplative, take a break from the action.
Yeah, it was. I actually really liked that part. I think Common is chasing him.
Yeah, that's
Rapper
right.
Common is chasing him.
Well, I think this movie started to realize if we want to keep making sequels, we can't just keep throwing goons at John and have him slay them.
Yeah.
You need somebody who can actually stand toe-to-toe with him. And I think Common was one of the first attempts at that.
Yeah.
And then I think in 3 and 4, they start to give the characters more personality.
Yeah. Especially since they're planning to build this out into a world, we're learning.
Yes.
Yeah, so he ends up doing the mission, and then like the bad guys try to turn on him because they want to clean up the evidence.
It's one of my favorite moments of the movie is so one thing I loved in the first one is when people aren't allowed to finish a sentence.
Yeah.
When Vigo, for example, calls John, he's like, "Look, I know my son killed your dog. He shouldn't have done that," and John just hangs up on him.
Yeah.
Or even when he finds Yosef and he's like, "It's just a dog," before he can finish the sentence, he shoots him. So in this movie, after John kills Santino's sister, he did the job. Now Santino calls him and he's like, "Look, you killed my sister. What kind of man would I be if I didn't get revenge?" But like 3 words in, John just hangs up on him.
Yeah, because he knew it was
coming.
coming. He knew it was coming. He had to do it, but he knew it was coming.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he has to like he basically now needs to get revenge on Santino and also to get him to like stop killing him.
Right.
So Santino puts a hit out on him. A bunch of assassins are being called to go after him, which is kind of fun.
Yeah, you get the montage of like the big guy that he has to shoot like 5 times.
Oh, the big sumo
big
guy. There's a big like sumo guy with like
Yeah.
a long ponytail and everything.
And he keeps shooting him.
Yeah.
He shoots him in the head and he's walking away and the guy's like, and he shoots him, does a double tap, shoots him. You see him kill people with a pencil.
Yes,
So we
which
see
they
the
mentioned.
payoff to
I think they
that.
mentioned in the first one, and then they bring it up again at the beginning. Peter Stormare brings it up, so you get to see that finally. The one scene that does take me out of it is when him and Common are using snipers and they're quietly shooting, and it's just like that's not how snipers work. But okay,
I like that actually. They were like walking in public, so they're just quietly shooting at each other and
but
nobody
that's not
notices.
how they work. That's not how they work.
I just feel like the longer these movies go, the more and more we deviate from reality.
Yeah, at least there were people around. When we get to the fourth one, it's like, where are all the people?
Well, it's
There's
like,
a lot going on that people should be like, what the hell?
Yeah, they learned from Zack Snyder, Man of Steel. You have to just. Well, what they needed though in Batman v Superman, they made sure to say many times, like, "We have evacuated the area.
Yeah.
Don't worry."
Yeah. So yeah, then he's just on a mission to kill Santino and survive all these hitmen.
The Bowery King shows up, Lawrence Fishburne.
Yeah, okay.
That's for his introduction.
Okay. So again, the secret society stuff. It's fun, a little bit of flavor. This one goes a little bit more into it. We're learning that there's multiple Continentals. Franco Nero is the head of the Rome one. And I do like that he's just like, are you going after the Pope? And then he's just like, no. He's like, oh thank God. Like, it was one of those just like he probably would be allowed to go after the Pope, but you can tell Franco Nero is like, please promise me you're not going after the Pope.
If not for the puppy, that's who he'd be going after. He's like, I can't kill God. This cancer thing. Next best thing.
Pope's just like, what? I don't know what you're talking about.
You cursed my wife.
I didn't do anything. So we learn about that. We learn about like there's a secret shop you can go to where a nice British gentleman will give you cool guns.
Right.
There's a tailor you can go to that'll give you bulletproof armor.
Keanu Reeves' real tailor in real
Oh,
life.
really? Really? And then some Jewish gentlemen take care of the banking and personal belongings. And
Yeah, you were upset about Mario. First, there was Harry Potter with those little goblins who run the banks.
What's wrong with them? What's wrong with them? What do they have to do with Jewish people?
I think you're driving through a tunnel right now.
Also, speaking of the Jews, I noticed in this scene when I was watching on Peacock.
Thank you, by the way, for this Mel Gibson right in front of me.
We haven't
It's
got to
perfect.
that yet. So I had it on Peacock earlier today. Like I have them, but like I only have them only in 4K. So upstairs I don't have that. So I'm like, oh, they're on Peacock. I noticed the streaming versions don't have the subtitles baked
Yes,
in.
which I assume they were hard coded into the movie because they do all the stylistic stuff where like Boogeyman will be big, bold.
I'm wondering if you have to select English to get, because I assume they're different for every version.
I tried. I turned subtitles on, and
That's
they
weird,
still,
right?
It just says speaking Russian.
Well, that's weird because, I mean, obviously they could be baked in, but it's like weird to not even have that option.
Yeah.
But I noticed when the Jewish guy was just like, goodbye, Mr. Wick, I'm like, wait, I remember him saying something before. And I'm like, wait, what's going on here?
Yeah, these movies are hard to stream properly because
Yeah.
at first I was watching on Peacock and then I stopped that without the subtitles. For John Wick 4, I rented it off Amazon, and I think they tried to put in some feature that levels out the audio. So as soon as it gets loud, suddenly it'll drop like 20 decibels.
Yeah.
And so then I turn the volume up, so when it gets back to normal, now it's way too loud.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons I still get like physical media. Depending on the movie.
Yeah.
Depending on the movie. If it's a movie like this where like the visuals are like top notch and there's really good sound stuff, even though I don't have the best sound setup, I'm like, I need to get the disc because streaming versions are really fucking annoying. Like, what happened recently? So Immaculate. You saw it in theaters, right?
Yeah.
It looked fine.
Yeah.
People, like, even the director had to like come out and address it because the streaming version is just way too dark. And like, he's just like, yeah, I don't know what happened here. Apparently the Apple version is the closest to how it's supposed to look. For whatever reason, when these movies hit streaming, they just go through different compression and whatnot.
Yeah.
I have a friend who's an audio engineer, and he knows that like the audio on streaming stuff is like garbage.
Yeah.
It's like, but we have to do it to these specifications. I don't know why. So it's really annoying. So yeah, if you can get physical media, go ahead. But I understand if you don't want to. I'm not one of those guys. Like, physical or nothing. I'm like, it depends on how much space you have. Not everyone has a stupid video store. But yeah, so they're getting more into the weeds with that. Then you find out the Bowery where it's like, oh, the Secret Society of Assassins also has homeless pigeon people who send messages for them.
It's Wi-Fi, but no one can track it. And
Yeah. But then also, in addition to that, there's another messaging system, which is tattooed ladies in pink dresses on old school phone things. It's like, okay.
Yeah, it started to get... The one that started to get me was all the homeless people in New York are secretly assassins.
Yeah. No, they're not assassins. They're helping the assassins.
Oh, okay, that's right, that's right. They work for the Bowery King.
Yeah, who is Lawrence Fishburne.
That's
so
right.
you get a reunion between Keanu Reeves and Lawrence Fishburne from The Matrix.
Which was nice.
Yeah.
And, but I was already kind of rolling my eyes at, okay, this is starting to get a bit ridiculous. And then the Bowery King is so theatrical, which is his thing, right? He thinks of himself as a king. But that's where I start to feel like I like the more grounded first John Wick.
Yes.
As ridiculous as the premise is, it's like they somehow make it believable this one guy can take on an army. And the more, and I like the hints at a bigger world, but the more ridiculous it gets, I wouldn't necessarily say it's wrong to take the story in that direction, but it's a matter of preference. And the movies also start to get kind of funnier. They get goofier.
From what I heard, like, Chad, I think, really likes that stuff.
Oh,
and the other guy liked the more personal stuff. That's what I heard. Because the other guy left the franchise, right?
I think he did. And then
he went and did, like, Atomic Blonde, I think.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Yeah, which is okay.
And then the writer, Derek Kolstad, who wrote the first movie, they essentially didn't bring him back for the fourth one.
Yeah.
And he's been really cool about it, where he's like, look, I'm not going to complain. I got to make these awesome movies with Keanu Reeves. But I think that's part of why you're seeing a shift in tone.
Yeah, yeah. And again, they're trying to branch out, which we'll talk about a little bit toward the end of our final chapter here. So yeah, they were getting like a little bit more into that stuff. And I'm like, I mean, it's kind of interesting, but you can have all that as long as like the mission is cool, and I'm just not as invested in the mission this time because it's just he owed a guy a favor and the guy was an asshole.
Yeah.
Action's still top notch though. If
The
you're gonna
action's
do
top
it,
notch.
yeah.
Some of the emotion comes back for me when Santino's like, I have to get revenge on you after dragging you out
Yeah.
back out of retirement, and I get mad at him.
Yeah.
Not as mad as I was at Yosef. So that brings back some of it.
Yeah.
The action's awesome, like you said.
Yeah.
But also I do think the action, I guess I said it already, it does feel a little bit like just more of the same, but in cool new environments.
Yeah.
And then I think 3 and 4 start to introduce other weapons, nunchucks, also new environments.
Yeah, they really upped the ante there. The whole art installation fight at the end was kind of fun with the mirrors.
I guess I'm just, for some reason, I feel like I've seen that so many times where when you're facing off against the villain, it's in the fun house and like, they're over there. Oh no, wait, they're over there.
Yeah, which is, of course, famously done in Zardoz.
That's right, yeah.
And
Yeah.
what was it? Was it Man with the Golden Gun, I believe? Have you ever seen the Key and Peele skit making fun of that?
No.
Oh my God. So they're making fun of like Man with the Golden Gun and the Hall of Mirrors. But like, it's the thing where like the agent figures out who the real guy is and he's still trying to act cool. But every time the gun's on him, he loses confidence. He's like, you'll never be able to find. Like he like starts squinting and the guy's like, you're right there. It's like, or am I? But here's another issue I have with the film. It really dates the film. Remember when Hollywood was trying to get us to really care about Ruby Rose? Remember that? What the fuck was that about? That woman cannot act. Thankfully, she doesn't talk in this. Where did that come from? I don't know where that came from. I remember I was working in another state on a TV show, and people were like, you got to watch the new Orange is the New Black season. It's got the hottest girl ever. And then I watched the first episode, and I went, where was that hottest girl ever? And they're like, Ruby Rose. And I was like, huh? Oh. Okay, and then suddenly she was just fucking everywhere?
Yeah. Yeah. She was in Batgirl for a bit.
Yeah, well, no,
Which is like
Batwoman. They
Batwoman,
did
that's
one
right, sorry.
season of Batwoman, and she apparently was, like, terrible to them.
Yeah, well, the story evolves over time. She was like, well, I'm allergic to latex, so I can't wear the suit. And then they were like, she's just not great to work with. I don't know who's telling the truth.
I
I'm not
don't
taking
know.
sides.
All I know is she can't act, and she was in everything for a while. Like, I remember seeing that stupid Resident Evil movie, and I'm like, there she is again. Okay. Okay, now it looks like she does like direct-to-video stuff that no one watches. I'm like, all right, that's where you belong, Ruby Rose.
Yeah, but this is the part of the, you can see them with each movie just trying to figure out how do we expand the franchise.
Yeah.
And so you see the prototype in this movie where it's throwing villains that have a little bit more personality. There's something unique about them.
I'm the deaf one.
Right, exactly.
Ooh, I'm the sumo one.
Yeah, deaf didn't work. Okay, let's try a blind guy.
Oh, yeah. I think my favorite underrated cameo in the first one was Kevin Nash, the wrestler.
Well, what was he in the movie?
He was the big, tall, blonde guy who like John puts the gun up to, and then he decides not to fight him.
Why don't you take the day off?
Well, because Kevin Nash, like, you've seen The Punisher.
Yeah.
He's the Russian in The Punisher.
Oh, the Thomas Jane one. Okay.
Yeah. But Kevin Nash is like a wrestler who's very tall. So as you get older, like your back gives out. Like you're not. It was one of those like if that movie had been made like 15 years earlier, he would have had a big fight. But they like threw him in there anyway because he was also a stunt guy. He was Super Shredder in Ninja Turtles too.
Nice.
But anyway,
Man, nobody could have survived that.
yeah. Whatever. Yeah, so Ruby Rose, that was like dating me when I got back, and I was just like, oh god. I'm like, that was a period. That was a period of time. But yeah, eventually he shoots, as lackluster as this one was plot wise, when he shoots Santino on the Continental, and you find out that they're all gonna go after him, like that made me invested again. I was like, wait a minute, I kind of like where this is going now.
What have you done?
And it was another moment of not letting someone finish their sentence.
Yeah.
Santino's like, we're on continental grounds. They make new dinners every day.
Yeah.
I'm not going to get bored of being here.
Yeah.
And John just shoots him. It's
I like that we
awesome.
go to the roof of the Continental, and it's clearly the building that was used in Spider-Man. Remember when Spider-Man drops off Mary Jane?
Yeah.
Yeah, because the church is right next. I know there's a building in
that's
New
funny.
York with a garden across from a church. I'm like, oh, it's that building.
I only remember it because in my Spider-Man recap, I mentioned that moment.
Yeah.
And I'm like, Mary Jane looks whimsically on. And someone's like, don't you mean wistfully?
Wixfully, actually.
Nice.
After Spider-Man swung away, they were like, intruder! And they shot her in the head 15 times. So yeah, the ending was really good. I liked what they were saying. I like that Winston gives him a head start.
Yeah,
He's
gives
like-
him 1 hour.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
after all the buildup, after 2 movies of, and there's a few times in this movie when it's like, if you can just get your hand on the steps of the Continental,
Yeah.
okay, you're safe.
I
you're
like
safe.
that when they're, yeah.
They made it feel like you can't kill someone here, even if you tried.
Yeah.
And then he just pulls out his gun and shoots him, and you
Yeah.
can feel the gravity of that moment. And then it is such good setup for 3.
Yes.
Where John's like, just tell them, Winston,
Yeah.
I'll kill them.
I'll kill them all.
I find with each movie it becomes, it's like its throat is slowly closing up. It just becomes harder and
Probably
harder.
because it's been punched so many times. Yeah, so that got me at the end. I'm like, okay, because I want John Wick to live. So I'm like, now I'm kind of on board for the next one. I wasn't so on board with him owing a favor and the guy ended up just kind of being a douchebag and whatever. I'm like, but him fighting for his life, I'm like, I'm on board. I just hope they don't get lost in the weeds more with all that secret society high table stuff. And now I'm going to read John Wick Chapter 3.
John Wick Chapter 3,
Yeah.
Parabellum.